What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chat It Up. As always, I'm your host, Shooter, bringing you interviews, news, and reviews about all things Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We've got another awesome episode for you here for our second episode of Season 2, so we're going to just jump right into things. First things first, we've got This Day in Yooper History, and as always, it's brought to you by the folks at pasty.com. That's pasty.com, and the Pasty Central Facebook page. So here it is, This Day in Yooper History, February 27th.
Pasty Central Day in History, February 27th. Born on this day in 1807, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who immortalized the shining Big Sea water, the lake they call Gitche Gumee, in his Song of Hiawatha. On this day in 1840, President Van Buren ordered the War Department to expedite a survey of the boundary between the Upper Peninsula and the territory of Wisconsin. Also born on this day in 1910, Clarence Leonard Johnson, native son of Upper Michigan, who went on to design the world's fastest and highest-flying aircraft at Lockheed. The seventh of 9 children born to Swedish immigrants in Ishpeming, Johnson eventually was elected to the National Academy of Sciences and enshrined in the National Aviation Hall of Fame. Pasty Central Day in History, February 27th.
Once again, that segment was brought to you by the good folks at pasty.com and the Pasty Central Facebook page, so a big shout out to them for making it possible. It's time for this week's interview, and it's with my good buddy, the Yooper legend himself, Mr. Bugsy Sailor. And Bugsy is my first return guest to the podcast, and if there's anybody that's worthy of that honor, it is definitely him. As you'll see from our chat, he had one hell of a year, and he's always up to really cool and interesting things, so I'm going to just let the interview speak for itself. So without further ado, let's chat it up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm here with none other than the unofficial official UP ambassador himself, the first ever returning guest on the podcast, Mr. Bugsy Sailor.
Yeah, the first guest ever, right?
First guest ever.
That was a long time ago. We were just trying to figure out when that first one was.
Yes.
And yeah, lots happened in the last year and a half.
Sure. Well, as always, because you're always up to something, I think it's probably best if we work backwards from like current time, because you've just been up to so much.
Yeah.
So let's start with Year of the Sunrise. How did you come up with this idea? And explain to those listening in that might not know what Year of the Sunrise is.
Well, I'm still trying to like January hit me hard. I was like, wow, like what do I do next? Like I'm trying to like get back into a groove of something.
But, and that was one question I didn't want to ask you, because I feel like everybody's probably asking you what's next for you.
Yeah, everybody is.
I would rather just catch up with you like a year from now and be like, oh, what was all the stuff that you did?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a lot. So Year of the Sunrise just wrapped up. It was my 2019 New Year's resolution to watch and photograph every sunrise of 2019. Everyone, regardless of weather, regardless of rain, and regardless of location. And it was an immensely rewarding project, and officially wrapped up on December 31st. But it's not the last of it. I'm still hustling hard to make some photo prints.
Sure.
Do some more writing about it, and just figuring out what a non-digital takeaway can be from it all.
Right, because people can buy these prints from you. They can basically pick whatever day from the year they want, right?
Yeah, so there's first edition prints available. That's of the first edition, there's only one of each day for that size and that format.
Sure.
And then, but as time goes on, I'll be reprinting ones on unlimited edition at smaller sizes.
Sure.
And I'm exploring the possibilities of a book and other ideas. But I'm just kind of chipping away at it slowly.
Sure.
Now that the pressure is kind of off.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about possibly, maybe making a book out of it. It's my understanding, I don't know if it was every single day, but you were kind of keeping notes and like observations along the way, correct?
Yeah, so every on the website, it's got kind of statistics about the sunrise and the photo, the location. more so than I see the project as more documentation than it is artistic expression.
Yeah.
But my favorite, and the favorite of everybody, is there's a question on every day of, did the sun rise? Yes. Was the sun visible? That's a whole other question. Yeah. And this time of year, in the dead of winter, it's usually not visible in the morning.
You're right, yeah. You just kind of mentioned obviously the outward expression is the art that comes from it, but it had to be pretty fulfilling internally, I would think. I mean, what were some of the kind of emotions that you went through on this journey, getting up every day and kind of going through this by yourself?
Yeah, I would say it was absolutely a spiritual kind of experience in the end. It became a meditation for me of what happens when you begin every single day outside before all else. I was on a typical morning, I was out of bed and out the door within 5 to 10 minutes and on my way to find the sunrise. I made it a point that I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't have a cup of coffee before. I didn't check emails. It was the sunrise first before all else. And it slows your day down.
Sure.
You go at a different pace. You're a lot more present in the moment. And everybody has bad days. It doesn't matter how glorious the sunrise is. You can still have a bad day.
Right.
But it's nice because you can always look back and kind of reflect on that morning, and you at least took the time to be present in that day, which is really great. And then I've kind of learned that doing that as your meditation, you really get this feeling of starting each day anew.
Sure.
So maybe it was a bad day. Well, it's you've got it worked into your schedule that you start where you left off this morning. And,
yeah. What was the hardest part about it, do you think? Was it battling the elements? Or, I mean, what was the most difficult part of that?
I liked battling the elements because anytime there was weather, my adrenaline races a little more.
Sure.
I love the inclement weather. One of my favorite phrases I love is the coldest morning was negative 32 degree wind chill. Last February was crazy. And I think it's like a slap in the face from the wind, and it wakes you up. Whatever else is going on, if you've got emails to worry about or whatever obligations, that wind slaps you in the face and you're not thinking about any of that. Your body's just trying to sustain it. But the hardest part is it's kind of I kind of really hate living by the alarm.
Sure.
And especially as it's getting earlier each day, you have to continually set your alarm earlier. Yep. And there's still the alarm going off. It's still a drag. That period of time where the alarm goes off,
yeah.
You're comfy in bed, you don't want to move. You still experience that. But actually the night before can be really difficult because you're especially once you have a streak of 100 days, 200
Sure.
days in, and it's you're freaking out. What if I oversleep my alarm?
Right.
Is my alarm set? You're trying to get to bed on time. Where am I going to go in the morning? I did the same location the last 5 days or something. So it's planning every single day, and to come up with something unique every single day is super hard, especially when it's gray.
Sure. 5
days in a row and your car's snowed in and you haven't, you're on foot maybe. Who knows?
Right.
It could be anything different. But then other than that, the execution of the sunrise in terms of the public facing side of the project, I wish I had tackled the prints part of it now.
Sure.
After it was all done.
Sure.
It was a lot to tackle all of that while I'm still executing it every day.
Sure. You mentioned location. Now I know just from checking out the photos and the projects, you didn't shoot from the same location every single time. Do you want to talk about some of the locales that you...
Yeah, so, we're here in downtown Marquette, and...
At the space formerly known as Ampersand.
Formerly known as Ampersand.
Plug.
And
shout out Keith.
Yeah, thanks Keith Glendon, letting us in unannounced.
Yeah.
99% 90% of this project is a Marquette project. 90% of the photos are taken between Presque Isle and South Beach, or like up 550 and Little Presque and South Beach. So it's primarily a Lake Superior project, and even some of those days I left Marquette, I was in Baraga, I was in the Keweenaw, I was in Duluth, so that's still Lake Superior.
Yeah.
So there's a few exceptions, but there was some times I had a weekend in Detroit, a couple weekends in Minneapolis. So it's not exclusively an Upper Peninsula project, but no matter where I was still chasing the sunrise. But a couple of my favorites in town is I got to go into the light room of the Marquette Lighthouse at sunrise.
Cool.
And it's just a unique experience. It's
Absolutely.
a cool place to be that not many people get to go. And but I wanted to do more photos inland, like from the woods. I know I commented on one of your I think it was from deer season.
Yeah, from my deer blind.
And like there's beautiful sunrise through the trees. And I wanted more like that, but it's so hard. I live less than a mile from the lake, and the lake just draws you there.
It does.
It's like it's right there. It's
Yeah.
just it's so hard to turn that down. So there's a few days I got a little more inland away from the water.
Yeah.
But being on the water and a sunrise project, it's nice when you can see the horizon.
Yeah.
And waiting for that moment where you do see the sun, if you see the sun.
And didn't you get to do one from a boat on the way to Mackinac or near the Mackinac Bridge too?
So 906 day, September 6th, I was just thinking I've got to do something special for 906 day, and really thankful to the folks at Invest UP for some connections to Shepler's Ferry, and the owner Chris Shepler from Shepler's brought me out personally on one of the boats to go underneath the Mackinac Bridge on 906 day, and it was super iconic for the day. And unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, it's a project where what you see is what you get.
Right.
And it was a cloudy, gloomy day.
Yeah.
The rain held off, thankfully, but they were super gracious with their time. And
very cool.
It was a great way to see the bridge. And then, that one was a hustle. I think I did not go overnight. I woke up here at maybe 3 a.m. and hit the road, and I think I was actually back here not long after noon.
Wow.
So
that's already a day and a half. Yeah.
So I had some friends with me that joined, but they had to be back for their work schedules and things. But it was unforgettable. And I think anytime here on out, anytime I am in a new place, I don't know what's next for sunrises and things, but anytime I'm in a new place, it's just part of me. I'm going to want to go see the sunrise from a new vantage point.
So I'm sure there's other artists that are out there listening, or people that are big into photography. What sort of gear were you using for this? Because I'm sure some people are curious as to, like what camera you had, what type of setup.
It was actually, I'm not too much of a gear junkie, but it was one camera body and 2 or 3 lenses. I have this it's overkill for photography. It's a Canon 1D Mark III.
Delilah, right?
Delilah, I call her Delilah. She's always had that name. But the camera's 10 years old, and she's a tank, and I definitely test her in the elements. And then most of the photos are a wide angle. Like I've got a 17 to 35 millimeter Canon lens, and most of the photos on the website are taken from 17 millimeters. I like that wide.
Yep.
Those wide shots. But there's a few exceptions. I've got an 85 millimeter I've used, and a couple times I borrowed a lens from some friends to mix it up.
Sure.
But, it's interesting. The first third of the project, or maybe close to the first half, I didn't really bring my tripod out with me much, especially in the winter. I didn't want to drag it along, and more to carry. But for the last half of the project, I've had my tripod pretty much every day.
Okay.
So it's this routine. It's Yeah, it's been a lot more driving, but I like the time in the car in the morning and put on some music. Like, I've always been a big road tripper, and it kind of allows that time to reset too, and I like the drive time to get somewhere.
Okay. So if somebody wants to purchase these, do they go through the UP Supply Company website, or is there a separate website just for this project? Or how can people get their hands on these?
Yeah, easiest thing to do is punch in yearofthesunrise.com.
Cool.
Or Google Year of the Sunrise. I believe it comes up first, or Bugsy Sailor. And yeah, so long as the interest is there will certainly be more products and prints to come. And I'm far from burnt out on it. I'm just not like
right.
I'm still inspired by it, and so we'll see where it goes.
All right, cool. Well, let's transition to another one of your crazy projects that popped up because you're always just into something. Let's talk about Mountain Dew a little bit.
Yeah.
And for those listening in, I'm gonna just let Bugsy tell the story because the craziness of how this unfolded is just the power of social media, I guess. But
yeah, it's hard to go back. So it must have been right at the end of June 2019 or July, beginning of July, and someone forwarded to me a map of the United States from a Mountain Dew commercial. This was a nationally televised spot on TV and social media. And the Upper Peninsula was colored the same as Wisconsin, associating the UP with Wisconsin. And I decided that it was the time to, rightfully as the ambassador, it was on me to call out Mountain Dew publicly and say, hey, we're not Wisconsin. And that tweet was the most viral thing I'd ever tweeted at that time, and I think the tweet had 900,000 impressions.
Wow.
And in a follow-up tweet, I said, hey, Mountain Dew, to make this right, how about creating our own label?
Yeah.
Because the whole campaign was
Dew-nighted, right?
Yeah, the Dew-nighted campaign, where they did a unique label for each of the 50 states.
Yep.
So my pitch was that they do a new one, and so it's crazy. There's 50 labels, all beautifully done, and they did it 51st. They did. So the Upper Peninsula was the only place that was not a full state to get their own label. So Mountain Dew reached out to me. And
was this like they slid into your DMs?
Yeah, they slid into my DMs, and I was like, we'd like to get on the phone with you. And I was like, they're going to be really mad at me, or they're going to be like game to play.
Yeah.
But they were awesome. They were incredible to work with. I worked with their PR company and their head of marketing within the Mountain Dew brand. And they were super gracious. They were sincerely apologetic. They wanted to make it right. And they saw it as a fun opportunity. So they didn't miss a beat, and they roped me in on the illustrations of the original illustrations for the label.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I know you've got some background in graphic design and some different things.
Yeah, so. and I think they really appreciated that I had some knowledge within marketing, and they, we had a great connection, many conversations. It was, involved a lot of people from their team, and they cut no corners. They went through a lot of efforts and lengths it takes. They put it into perspective of me of what it takes for them to get this custom label out the door, and how many vendors they have to work with their ad agencies, their graphic agencies, their social media agencies, and then the production, the distribution, the approval, any legal stuff. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But they used me to approve that original label, so I saw the first black and white sketch of it. There's a couple changes at that point, but otherwise they hit it out of the park. There was one part of it that had a snowy owl.
Okay.
Which was cool, but that's not really. It's not an
it's not an iconic
part of the UP or anything.
Right.
So that one they kind of missed. So we took that out and rearranged like a couple things. But they had some really nice touches. It's amazing how much detail you can fit into that little label. I mean, it had pictured rocks and kayaking and snowmobiling.
And a pasty in his
a
back.
pasty, There was a plaid shirt. It said 906. It had the Mackinac Bridge, a little outline of the UP.
I think it had a snowmobiler or something.
Yeah, snowmobiler. Yeah. It was great. And they produced. They thought it would be a great homage to produce 906 bottles.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great. Little did they know, or did I know, how much demand there would be.
Oh, I bet.
So we were both dumbfounded. I'd never been in this situation before, and they hadn't. And they, of course, they're not from here. They don't know what to expect. But we had a launch party at the UP Supply Co. store, and we had 400 people through the door in about 45 minutes.
Wow.
And it was great. I think the event started at 1 or 2 p.m., and the first people showed up in line at 10 or 11. And I was like, these people are either crazy or else we've got a situation on our hands. And we had a situation on our hands. I mean, the line went halfway around the block. If you're familiar with our shop, went all the way behind Baby Cakes on that block. But everybody was super patient and super friendly, and they we ran out of bottles super quick, but they took names, emails, shirt sizes for everybody in line and said, we'll produce more and get them to us.
Very cool.
To them. So we're actually working on that right now, about getting that second round of it's taken a long time, and we've been busy with all the holidays and everything between, but those are in the works. Like, it's still those will be in people's hands soon.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So at this event, were there some people from Mountain Dew there, or was it just something that you were kind of running the show?
Yeah, so they flew in 4 people.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so they had the the vice president of the Mountain Dew brand.
Wow.
Marketing director of Mountain Dew, and then 2 people from their global PR agency.
Okay.
And so they made some signage, and what was awesome is they were super supportive of so many local businesses. We kicked us out from our shop, but then they bought a bunch of mini pasties from Laurie's. They went to Ben Franklin to get some stuff printed.
Okay.
I can't remember all. There's a bunch of other local businesses that they supported just by coming here.
Very cool.
And doing all that. And then I took them on a little tour, brought them out to Black Rocks, took them inside the Superior Dome.
Nice.
They loved it. They had a great time, and it was unforgettable. And it picked up a tremendous amount of press. I think this was before the bottles and labels were produced. I counted 70 online news sources.
Wow.
And afterwards, there was a bunch more, but it included Fast Company, NPR, Fox News, like big players, and not just locally. This was like, I think I saw a story down in it ran on an Alabama website.
Really?
It was everywhere.
Wow.
So it was really incredible to have Fast Company interview me and our little shop.
Right.
Being in Fast Company, a magazine I've always read. So it was incredible. I was super grateful to be part of it, and they were incredibly gracious with their time and energy. It was, countless hours that they put in.
Wow. Well, sticking with kind of the limelight or the spotlight, let's talk a little bit about Joe Pera.
Yeah.
So Joe Pera, for those listening in, Joe has this wonderful show on, I believe, isn't it cartoon? Is it the Adult Swim?
Adult Swim.
It's on Adult Swim, okay. And his character, I guess you could say, is from Marquette. He's a teacher, right?
Yeah. So his real name is Joe Pera, but in this fictional show, he goes by Joe Pera as well, and it's called Joe Pera Talks with You, and he addresses the camera, but this character lives in Marquette, who's a choir teacher, and is just this very kind of soft-spoken, kind of awkward, really charming, pleasant guy. And what I really love about the show is just the sweetness to it.
Yes.
There's nothing vulgar. There's nothing. It's just like kind-hearted, everyday life, and he paints it in a really great picture. But the very first episode of season 1 was a lot of it was shot at Black Rocks and around Marquette, and I saw it and I was like, what? Like, what is this new show? What the heck are they doing in Marquette? And who is this guy?
Yeah.
So once I saw that, I did this research on like who Joe Pera was, and I think it was on Twitter, and the power of social media is I just blindly reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'd love to do a Q&A with you.
Yeah.
And we just did a Q&A over email for our blog, but he responded, and the next time he was up here, he was like, hey, Bugsy, let's get together for a beer. And super gracious guy, so kind, such a sweet guy, but he ended up doing, he did stand-up at Ordoc one night. It was a sold-out crowd. Everybody loved it, and they're in the midst of season 2.
Which you made the cameo.
Yeah,
so talk about that.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know about is his cameo.
So, he was back in town again, and this was, another crazy summer. It was a crazy summer, Scott. And just unpredictable things that you couldn't predict. And so Joe sends me, hey, I'm going to be back in town. I'm like, great. Like, I thought, he said they're doing some scouting locations.
Okay.
I was like, okay, cool. I didn't know they're here actually recording.
Right.
Like, I didn't know that, like, Joe was like super nonchalant in terms of what he told me. And then, but Joe and his director actually came out with me on a sunrise shoot one morning,
okay, cool.
which was awesome. We went to Wetmore Landing, and they were doing promo photos of Joe at Wetmore for the show, which was really cool. And then, but then he invited me. He's like, well, can you come to Sugarloaf, tomorrow? We're doing an episode. So they're doing a full shoot for a couple days. And those in town might remember that they shut down Sugarloaf Mountain for the filming of this. But Joe invited me. Joe invited me out. I was thinking I would just be on set to just see this, because I love anything behind the scenes.
Sure, yeah,
I just
absolutely.
love
I'm the same
seeing
way.
behind the scenes operations.
Yeah.
And I was really excited about this, and it was actually, from my knowledge, I believe the county actually volunteered to like shut it down and just like, you guys do your thing. And everybody was super polite, but they had a crew of about 20, 25 people, a handful of extras, including myself, and made my acting debut. I mean, this is a 2-second clip.
Right.
But Joe said that I could win a daytime Emmy for best silent hiking walk by, of the year.
Oh God.
But it was awesome to be on set, and see how something like that gets produced, because it was by media standards of what we see on TV. It's a small production. It's a smaller show. But it involved a lot of people. Yeah. And no different than when Mountain Dew was here. Like that whole crew, they're supported all the local restaurants. Sure. They're out and about in town. They came into our shop, and it's a great advantage to have that.
Sure.
And, little boost, and I wonder. We see that show now, and we see little pieces of Marquette, and it's nostalgia for us. It's sentimental, but for most people watching that show,
they have no
idea. They don't know what Sugarloaf Mountain is.
You're right.
So it's really interesting. Like, it's not like they're catering to us to that's a very small population that relates to that part of the show.
Yeah. I feel like
it's been cool.
I feel like I need to reach out to him and try and get him on the podcast. I need to like name drop you or something.
Yeah,
like, hey, my buddy Bugsy told you to reach out, because I feel like he would be fun to come on, because I want to know, like, why did he pick like being from Marquette?
Right.
And
I'd happy to make that introduction. I know they're busy like promoting the new season, and it's out there now, but he's really got a soft spot for Marquette and the UP, and I know he wants to come back here. It's
Yeah,
just a
so
busy
if he ends up coming back, that'd be awesome.
I think it needs to happen. And it's anybody out there, if you get the chance to meet him or if you get the chance to see, he still does stand-up in New York. He's really great, and just a really kind, gentle soul, I would say.
Yeah.
So had a great time getting to know a little more of his crew.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to continue with the Limelight stuff because, Mountain Dew, and then with Joe Pera and your debut, but you also were on ESPN.
Yeah.
Stone skipping. You said you had a wild summer, so let's talk about your stone skipping season this year.
Yeah, it's unreal. Well, and these are, we talked about stone skipping in the past, but this was I believe my 7th consecutive year of stone skipping on Mackinac Island on the 4th of July. So it's the Mackinac Island Stone Skipping Tournament. Every July 4th, kicks off at noon, and they've got the amateur division and the pro division. And I won the amateurs in my 2nd year there, so it's been 5 or 6 years skipping with the pros.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because the previous year was the 50th anniversary, and the Today Show came out.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
And I lost that in a skip-off.
Yeah.
And I was so, I missed my shot at a Today Show interview. But then this year we get word that ESPN3 is coming, but they're going to live stream it. So it was live streamed on ESPN, and I know the folks down at Ordock Brewery, they had it streaming with, a bunch of my friends, watching while I was at the island. And it was a big production. They had a whole trailer set up and 2 people announcing, and the play-by-play announcers were hilarious.
They were. I was watching from my phone.
Yeah.
I've got screenshots somewhere, awesome ones of you mid-skip with the ESPN logo in the corner.
Yeah.
You're just a legit superstar athlete.
Yeah, it was great to see. And you think of, I was like, man, what would it take for this to be an annual thing that they cover? I think about the Nathan's hot dog contest, which was also on the 4th that they cover. But that had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
They had to take a risk of are we really covering the hot dog eating contest? There had to be a conversation at some point. And somebody was probably really? Stone skipping?
Yeah.
But the announcers really brought a lot of entertainment to it. And it was a ton of fun. I had one of my worst performances on the island, actually. Unfortunately, this year was tough. But it was actually, everybody had a pretty tough year. I think
it was really windy. There was a chop.
Windy, bad chop. I think it made a difference with the water level being higher. People had a tough time. But it's always fun. And it's, this literally... not long before we met up today, I got a text from my mom of, we booked our campsite for 4th of July, Mackinac.
Nice.
We'll be there. So,
nice.
It's 6 months out.
Yeah, better start training.
Yeah.
So to switch gears a little bit, let's talk a little bit about a couple of the annual things that you usually do. First one being Platter Day.
Yeah.
How was the turnout this year?
So Platter Day is our biggest turnout ever in Marquette.
Yeah.
And there's, I was elated. So fall is a crazy time for me because I go from 906 Day to Platter Day to Fresh Coast Film Festival, all the holidays, and then owning a retail store. You've got the retail holidays, Cyber Mondays and stuff. And my Sunrise project on top of all that.
Yeah, it was a
busy, crazy fall. So Platter Day came around this year, and I did not have the energy or time to put into it. I was focusing on other things, and I was kind of feeling a little bummed, man, I just don't know if it's going to get the pull this year. And one thing that happened over the last couple years is sort of this little bit of a rivalry between Marquette versus Ironwood, which is the home of Stormy Cromer.
Yeah, shout out to Gina.
Yeah, thanks
Bob
Gina.
And the crew.
Yeah, that crew is fantastic. And the Stormy Cromer crew has been on Platter Day celebrating Platter Day since the beginning. Mm-hmm. They've been super supportive. And last year they literally rolled out like the plaid carpet in Ironwood for like, and brought all these people, and they like blew Marquette out of the water last year in terms of number of people for their. So for those listening, we do on Platter Day, I try to get as many people together as possible, all wearing a plaid shirt. If you can't make it to the photo, all you gotta do is wear plaid. It's first Friday of October. So I was like, okay, whatever else happens on social media this year for Platter Day, whatever. My goal, I want to beat Ironwood. Like, I was like, this can't stand. So I finally found the fire at the last minute, and we did it at the photo at the Peter White Public Library. They were super gracious too to have us, and we more than doubled our turnout from last year. We had over, I forget what, I think it was close to 350. I don't remember what the number was.
Yeah.
And I did not have a wide enough, I couldn't go back any further, else I'd fall down the stairs in the photo.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a wide enough, I needed like a fisheye lens to capture everyone. There was so many people, and I was dumbfounded. I was like, this is it. Like, we did it. Like, this was awesome. And Storm and Cromer still beat us. I think they got closer to 4. And Ironwood, the whole community of Ironwood, they got closer to 400. So it's like, the wheels are turning this year. Like, okay, like, I need to go big.
Right.
And the irony is Gina, who's president of Storm and Cromer, she was actually in Marquette that night. And I was like, Gina, you need to come to our photo. And it just would have been so comical that, it didn't work out this way, of course. But like, I was like, if Gina was in our photo,
and you won,
and then
somehow?
we won by 1,
yeah,
and it was just Gina who was supposed to represent Ironwood, and then she was in our photo. But it's awesome to have that little rivalry now. So but this is the dream since the beginning, is that. I love doing Platter Day in my community, but I can't be everywhere.
Right.
And it's always been my dream that people do their own thing with it.
Sure.
So the fact that Ironwood and Storm and Cromer are doing their thing with Platter Day, it's a tradition now. But then Bell's Brewery and Upperham Brewery have really taken a lot of tradition with Platter Day now too. They're throwing great parties with it, and coming out with limited edition stuff, and I love that. Like, that's what I want. It's a holiday. People are supposed to run with it. So it's right. I think Platter Day this year was, I was looking at the social media stuff, and I think it had less reach, say coast to coast kind of thing, but it had more concentration in Michigan than it's ever had before.
Yeah.
So it's still growing, and it's kind of taking on its life of its own, which is my hope. Like, I hope it can, if I don't know, something happens to me,
it lives forever.
Hopefully.
Knock on wood when you say that. For
hopefully it still goes on. So we'll see.
Well, one of the other things that it seems like you do every year is you come up with some sort of witty April Fool's Day prank, and this year might be my favorite one that you did, just because I like super cheesy stuff.
Yeah.
So, a shirt of a shirt, which sounds goofy, but maybe you can explain.
Yeah, maybe it's hard to visualize.
Yeah.
So, I kind of panicked again. It was kind of a last minute thing, but so we did the original Upper Peninsula silhouette shirt,
iconic that started it all.
2007, 2008, and. So it was, that original shirt was just the silhouette of the UP, no text, and at the time, it was the shirt I wanted that I couldn't find anywhere. Now you can find it everywhere, but we've sold a lot of those from day one, and I thought because it is so readily available now, it would be a little ironic to make a silhouette of the silhouette tee on a tee. And it looks, I've not seen a shirt like it before. I can, so I can also assure that we are the first to do a silhouette UPT on a tee.
Yeah. I don't know why it strikes my funny bone so much. It's just the irony of it. That's what makes me giggle.
Seeing it is just comical. It makes me smile. It's hilarious. And I didn't know how many would sell, so we did it kind of kind of as a joke, but it was like a pre-sale thing on the website, and we sold quite a few of them. So we decided, well, let's just print a few extras to have in the shop and have in hand, and we've pretty much sold through them now. But I think we're going to print more. I think we'll print more, Scott. And then it's really funny to see people pick it up in store with no context.
Right.
There's a lot of double takes and like, wait, what's this? And people laugh. It's great to see people laugh in store and enjoy it. So some people, it's far from our top seller or anything, but the people who do get it, really get a kick out of it. So some people have picked it up in store having no context of our story or like the shirt itself. But, maybe there'll be a silhouette hoodie.
There you go.
Or something.
Do you have any other like new or cool stuff that you've kind of dropped at the shop lately? Or I mean,
well, it's actually been tough this year between Mountain Dew and Joe Pera and Film Fest Platter Day. We need to pick up our act in terms of releasing some new stuff. Something we've been hustling on is kind of a side project. Me and my buddy Paul doing this little brand called Topogra.
Okay.
And we did the topography shirt for Sugarloaf.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got the topography map with the coordinates of Sugarloaf. I have it on a t-shirt and a hoodie, and that, especially with the summer traffic, we finally calculated how many we sold of that. And I had no idea. It was just way more than I expected.
Sure.
So we've got one for Sugarloaf, one for Hogback, and we hope to add more mountains in, and that's been a fun little side project.
Very cool.
But that was the other. It's like I don't know. I need to find some time back for myself. Like I don't know if there's going to be another mountain. Like I don't know what the Joe Pera thing was totally unpredictable.
Right.
The Mountain Dew thing, out of left field, could have never. But like that was a ton of time and energy that went into.
Yeah.
Well, especially the Mountain Dew thing, anyways. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that again this year. Like I don't like if somebody else leaves the UP off the map, or like I was like that might. Someone else might have to, like,
right?
And it's been done before,
Yeah.
Amber, I forget Amber's last name, but what she did with the ticket company.
Oh, Amber Johnston.
They had the party at Black Rock, so certainly not a first time for that. But then the other, we're trying to hustle on reprinting this one, is what we did last year at this time. It was hit after hit in 20. Here's the thing. This is what brings it all together. So we've talked about Joe Pera.
Yeah.
We talked about this Mountain Dew thing, which was super successful and fun, and Platter Day and everything else. But there's the sunrise thing. All those mornings, I was still doing the sunrise thing. And 2019 was such a good year. And maybe it's coincidence that I was doing the sunrise thing, but what if it's not? And if it's not a coincidence, it's too much of a good thing to give up.
Okay. That's a perspective I didn't think of.
Yeah, and it's been a really great year. And so I'm like trying to like come down from it all. But it all, like where it started last year, roughly this time, is more into February, is we did a big blog post about how long it would take to resurface 100% frozen Lake Superior using a single Zamboni machine.
Yeah, and that got picked up everywhere.
And that went crazy. I couldn't believe how far that stretched, but we really broke it down. I to the best of my knowledge, I've always loved numbers, and this actually takes out. I mean, you're going to need to do some oil changes. You're going to need a coffee break, maybe a pickup hockey game. So if this were even possible, there's still so many other variables.
Right.
But the math that I had calculated, I believe, just shy of 800 years with a single Zamboni machine.
With a single Zamboni, yeah.
And it was the equivalent of like 1 million ice rinks in North America. It put it into perspective of just how big that lake is, which sits, quarter mile from us.
Right.
And so the blog post went viral, and it's really the credit goes to my buddy Paul, who was like, let's make a commemorative shirt for that blog post. So we had a hoodie and a t-shirt, like, and a custom badge made up, like, you know, how big, you know, I think it's 52 million. Is it 52 million ice rinks? I got to refresh myself on the numbers. But now that we're coming up to, you know, it's freezing season on Superior. So as it starts to freeze, we're going to bring back that design.
Okay.
And because last year it was what inspired all that. It was 90% plus frozen over last year.
Well, speaking of inspiration, you know, for a lot of people around here and across the UP, they see all the stuff that you're doing and you have going on, and it's very inspirational. Who or what inspires you?
Oh boy, I don't know.
You don't know? I'm throwing you for a curveball here, which I'm glad. I'm you know, I got to keep you on your toes, but
I mean, I think there's a lot. This is just going to be a shout out to my mom, because my mom's retiring after 35 years, and she's having a party on Sunday.
Okay, very cool.
And she texted me yesterday of if I can, like, prepare some speaking words.
Okay.
But I think some of the inspiration comes from her. Like, she's always like, I think she's really creative. She's always has these ideas, and you know, and they've been supportive with it. But really, a lot of it kind of traces back to high school with me and my buddy Andrew. We would always have these visions for these silly ideas.
Okay.
But we're in high school. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to make anything.
Sure.
We didn't know how to promote anything.
Yeah.
But they're always, and it wasn't until college that I kind of realized, and after college I was like, oh, I can do these things. Like, there's nobody telling me not to.
Yeah.
And then it's been a series of, like, doing them back to back. But I think we talked about, you know, pouring a beer with Richard Branson.
Yeah, we did talk about that last time.
Yeah. So if we talk about big inspirations, he's always been one, because he comes up with these crazy marketing ideas.
Sure.
And he just does them.
Yeah.
And he's got this motto of, like, screw it, let's do it. And I've always liked that attitude of, like, you never know if you don't try. So, but yeah, it comes from a few places. In terms of, like, so many of my projects are very UP centric, and I love this place. I see the UP as just kind of like a big playground, and there's very little red tape to execute an idea here.
Sure.
You know, and people in this community are extremely supportive, and, like, you know, I love that. So I think a lot of it comes from that, and then I get a lot of ideas when I'm driving, in terms of when or where the ideas come up. If I'm in a funk, I just need a long road trip.
Sure.
And then it clears my head, and you know, I'm trying to, like, race back to, like, stop somewhere where I can write whatever's coming to my head.
Sure. Well, we've kind of come to the end of our chat here, and I can't ask you again, you know, ketchup or gravy on your past, because that question's kind of played out, and I already know what your answer is. So I know you're big into these types of questions, so I sat down and I racked my brain of some other kind of UP-centric maybe questions that I could ask you. The first one actually you asked me one time directly.
Okay.
And the first one is Mackinac Island or Presque Isle?
Or did you mean Isle Royal?
Or I mean Isle Royal.
Yeah.
Isle Royal. Is it Isle Royal or Mackinac Island? Which would you rather go to?
So I'm embarrassed about this. I've never been to Isle Royal.
Never?
And
I haven't either. I'd love to go.
I need to fix that.
Yeah.
I'm probably not nearly as outdoorsy as people
think.
As maybe my
persona
gives.
Yeah.
Like, but I really need to go to Isle Royal. I want to go to Isle Royal. But I'm a super sentimental guy. Mm-hmm. And I love ritual, and because of 7 straight years stone skipping on Mackinac Island on the 4th, like, it's a tradition now.
Sure.
It's a ritual, and it's like, it's super fun. It's a family reunion to go see these other professional stone skippers. My parents come every year. Like, I couldn't give that up now. Like I love that.
Okay.
So
you're going with Mackinac Island.
And I feel a little shameful to say that. Shout out to my Mackinac Island social media folks. I love you guys. But I need to get to Isle Royale.
But
super bad.
But we talked about last time that what you'd put on your pasty would kind of be a good sense of like your personality. I think Isle Royale or Mackinac Island is also a good sense. Like, are you for like chilling on the porch at the Grand Hotel, or are you about like roughing it?
Yeah, it's true. You couldn't have two islands that are so drastically different from each other. And something I've noticed about me, it's why I love having a shop in downtown Marquette, why I love living in downtown Marquette, is I like to be, not that Marquette's the biggest city around,
right?
But wherever I am, I like to be in the center of activity. Like, I like an amount of buzz and energy and people watching. But I think there's going to be a time in my life where I give that up and become a recluse and just like old man sailor living out on Isle Royale. Nobody's heard from him in a long time. Like,
so taking photos.
Must be surviving out there on his own. But I think those days are ahead of me.
Okay, next one. Tino's Pizza or Congress Pizza?
Oh, boy.
I love that I'm kind of making you think about these.
So, the issue is it's been a really long time since I've had Tino's.
Okay.
I've had Congress a number of times in the last, I don't know, couple years at least.
Yeah.
I have to go Congress.
Me too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Tino's, but Congress is my jam forever and ever.
Yeah, a little more familiar.
Yeah.
And but also just, it's a little more recent in the memory.
Sure. Okay, next one.
However.
Oh, okay. However, there's a however.
There is a however.
There's a caveat.
This is my challenge to you and to everybody else. I came up with my friend Julie recently because we were up in the QAnon, we had Ambassador Pizza.
Oh, yes.
And Tostada. And
yes.
I had just, the previous weekend, and this was driving through Baraga, I had just had Irene's Pizza in Baraga.
Okay.
And I was like, what is the best UP pizza day? You get three pizzerias. And I told her, I was like, the best pizza day you can have is Ambassador Tostada Pizza, Irene's House Special, and then Congress.
Okay.
And I was like, but if,
My answer, I'd have to think about it a little more, but I'll put it this way. Maybe I'll give my answer at a later date. But my three places, one would be in Iron River, one would be in Iron Mountain, and then one would be in Ishpeming.
See, and that's the thing. It's I got to go back to my home territory. And the thing is with Ambassador and Irene's especially is it's the nostalgia. Like, so much of that flavor is in the nostalgia.
It is big time,
and the childhood memories of eating.
Absolutely. So the next one, Tequamanon Falls or Kitchitakeepee?
Oh, that one's tough. Tequamanon or Kitch? Ooh. Boy, I love both those places a lot. I'm gonna say Tequamanon.
Tequamanon, okay, all right.
There's a little more to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough. How about the Sioux Locks or the Houghton Lift Bridge?
These are good questions. And that's the thing. It's I favor the nostalgia a lot. Growing up in Marigot and going to Houghton all the time, the lift bridge was a thing, and the Sioux Locks was something that's a little more rare in terms of getting all the way over to the Sioux.
Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for the freighters and how big they are.
Yeah.
And the engineering marvel of it all, I have to go with the Sioux Locks.
Okay. And the last one that I have for you, Pictured Rocks or Skipping Rocks?
That's a great question. Skipping Rocks.
Skipping Rocks?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather throw rocks than look at rocks any day.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all that I have. I love that I actually got you like really kind of thinking. Like,
that question threw me. I've never been asked that.
Yeah, I love that I was able to come up with a few that made you raise your eyebrows, because I feel like these are all questions that you would have thought of yourself.
Those are great questions. Those are tough.
I tried to put myself in your shoes a little bit, so
yeah.
That's everything that I have here. Is there anything else you wanted to add or anything?
I don't know. Are you going to reveal your answers, or is that something throughout the next season that we've got to listen for? I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot.
How about I'll answer one each episode.
That's great.
Along the way. So then, in order to get all my answers, you got to just keep listening in. It's like on a Christmas Story with the Orphan Annie decoder ring, but I won't tell you to drink your Ovaltine at it. But
it's my favorite Christmas movie, by the way.
Oh, is it? See, I'm a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation guy.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's again the nostalgia factor. That's one I can quote front to back. Yeah, for sure. Well, dude, this was awesome. It's always fun catching up with you. Like I said, I feel like I need to just each year sit back down with you with the years you've been having, just with the craziness.
I don't know if I can keep this going. It was unpredictable, but I can honestly say, like, in terms of things I want to get done, there's a lot of unpredictable things.
Sure.
But in terms of the things I want to get done, I feel more inspired than ever. So
awesome.
I'm really just like overwhelmed of just like, oh my goodness, like how do I just like focus on one idea at a time and just like keep moving forward.
Well, I'm sure we'll all be watching and patiently waiting for the next step, but I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me again. This has been fun.
Yeah, my pleasure. Always, Scott.
And that's going to wrap things up here for this episode of Chat It Up. Another quick thank you to Keith Glennon and the folks at Campfire Co-working Space in Marquette for allowing us to record there on a very short notice. And just another big thank you to Bugsy. It's always awesome to sit down and catch up with him, and it's definitely a privilege and an honor to call him a friend. As I said at the end of last episode, I want to hear your big takeaways this season, so drop me a line. You can reach me via email at chatituppod@gmail.com, or you can leave me a message or write on my wall or slide into my DMs, however you want to get a hold of me, on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Also, one last thing, wherever you're listening in, please subscribe, rate, or leave me a review. That's how this grows, that's how it spreads, and that's how I'm able to continue to keep putting out podcast episodes. So, as I said, that's going to do it here for this episode of Chat It Up. As always, I'm your host, Shooter, reminding you to keep your chin up and your eyes forward.